Hello everyone and welcome to this second video of this series which looks at the global cycle shift that's going to happen in 2027 center by center. And so we're going to look at the change of the keys, and today is going to be the sacral center. So the sacral, the life force. It's something really important to understand about the sacral center is that this is where the energy for life is, okay? It's not energy to have, let's say have fun in ways that are not going to be beneficial to life, okay? This is the energy for life, to maintain life, to sustain life, to move life, And so this is the main motor of the human design system, okay? It's our main motor as humans, is where the most energy is. So it's all this energy that's there to sustainly keep us alive and maybe keep us working in things that will keep us alive. Taking care of children, for example, is one of the ways that the sacral can use its energy, or all kinds of things that are really related to what is fundamental. And so there's going to be a shift in the global cycle. So the gates that are in the sacral now in the global cycle. So it means that in the whole planet has these gates. So for now it's the 9 and the 42, and they are enforced in the consciousness field. They're supported, they're put forward in humanity. And so this is how humanity uses their sacral energy at the moment, if we're going to look at the 42 and the 9. And it's not the only way in which humanity uses their energy, obviously. People have different activations in their sacral. However, this is where the accent is going to be. And this is where the homogenized humanity, if it was one design for the whole of humanity, this is where it would be its main focus, its main definition. This is how people use their energy, basically. So let's look at how things are now. Okay, so from 1615 to 2027, we have the gate 9, which is the gate of focus, and is the hexagram of the taming power of the small. And then gate 42, growth and increase. So let's look at the focus. This is a logical gate. That speaks already something, is that people are using their sacral for doing things that are logical. Imagine the change that could bring if it's no longer there. It means people are going to use their life force to things that are not logical. Okay? Think about that. So, logic. And it's this step-by-step learning. This is what this is about. Step-by-step, the 9th gate learns something, learns to understand something. And it's a long road of work with all the little details. So it's the gate of focus, People use their energy to focus on something in order to learn it, to understand it. And so the taming power of the small, if you think of that name, taming, the taming power is, so it's the capacity to tame, to deal with something, okay, to approach something in a certain way and learn to work with it, of the small, which is all the little details. So for example, people study a lot in this era, and especially since about 1958, when we enter the first line. So we enter the first line of gate 9 and gate 42, and so this is all about investigation. And so people focus on the details in order to investigate them. And since the 60s, this is going on. More people are focusing and investigating now than probably ever before. ever. I mean, just the fact that we have a computer, for example, it enables us to focus on so many details and investigate. And there are so many scientists, millions of them, and it didn't used to be that way, right? So, the focus. Now, if we look at gate 42, this gate is not logical. It's abstract, okay? Now, gate 9 and gate 42 have something in common, which is that they are both collective. And so they're about sharing. So, for example, gate 9 will focus on the details to understand them in order to eventually being able to share them with other people. Okay? So we have a sacral, we have the life force of the totality that shares now. You know, it's all about sharing a worldview, sharing our understanding. In gate 42 is the abstract side, which is not logical. It's about sensing, and it's about an experience, and it's about cycles. And so it's the gate of growth, okay? And it's the gate also of finishing things. So imagine these cycles of the 42nd gate, cycles of focus, cycles of understanding, cycles of focusing in order to understand. And so you get to what? You get to schools. You get to universities. These are collective cycles that we go through, you know? We have the energy, the sacral energy that is there in order to go through the focus and go through the cycle and come out of it and finish it. People typically will finish school, you know, will finish things. You know, it's a thing, right? You go through this cycle of understanding, and then at the end, you know, you're more mature. You've learned something. And then you can move on to the next cycle, you know, get a job, start working in a company, and so on. And so you keep focusing on all these details. So it's all collective. It's all about sharing. And this is what the sacral is about, okay, right now. This is the life force and the life-sustaining force is right now in humanity about growth and focus and understanding and these cycles. If I look at the lines now, you know, because since the 60s we're in the first line, and so I took some note. The first line, so it's all about investigation. And gate 9, the first line of gate 9 is called sensibility. And it's all about building new forms, okay? So think about that, building new forms, building new things. You focus on all the little details in order to build something new. And, I mean, look at how many new things there are. There are so many new things right now, like more than ever before. People invent all these things, people study all these things, and there's all these new inventions all the time. We cannot even keep track of them because there's so many of them. People developing, you know, a new program or a new app or a new website or a new concept or a new business or a new product, a new service, focusing. All the little details. Gate 42. The first line is called diversification. And so it's all about expansion and potentially decadence. So we have all these new things, new forms that are being built, and they're all different from each other. So you get this new model and that new model, and so there is this expansion, this enormous expansion of all the forms that we have. And they're all so diverse, right? You have this phone that does this and has those specifications, you know, and then, I mean, there's so many things that humans have built. There's no way to even, I don't know who would be able to even count them. And so this is what this is about until 2027. We're building new forms. And at the same time, it's going down, right? So the way that I see it is that we are getting to this decadence. There's so many junk, you know, things that are junk, right? You build a new whatever, but then, you know, it's going to break in a year, and so you got to buy the next new whatever. And so Yeah, this is pretty much it. And the way I see it, in a way, it's like the spokesperson, the stereotype of this cycle we're in right now, since the 60s, it would be to me a software programmer, somebody who will focus on all these details that many other people don't understand, and they will build this new form, this new software, for example, and then there's this cycle, now you build this new software, then you make it grow, and then it's done, and then you can sell it, and then you go to the next one, and you build the next one, and all these diverse things going on, and it's all investigative, right? It's the first line, right? Digging deep. What's the basis of things? So this is it. This is the sacral right now. Obviously there is much more, and I'm not gonna go into every possible thing, because human design is so deep that there's no bottom. I mean, all the themes that I present in right now, you could look at them in different ways, But this is it. So sharing, focus, growth. So you get schools, you get universities, you get these collective organizations that focus our life force in order to go through these cycles where we can learn, and we can learn to understand things. And so step by step, we can get to, a certain level of maturation, for example, You go through the first year, and then you learn this, and then the second year. And, after 5 years, you are a psychologist or whatever. But before that, there were all these other steps, right? I mean, it's incredible. All this understanding, right? And then if we go to 2027, the image is a bit different. Okay. So from 2027 to about 2438, we have gate 34, power, the power of the great. And then we have gate 59, sexuality and dispersion. So, again, the first name there, power and sexuality, these are the gate name. And the power of the great and dispersion, these are the Chinese names for the hexagrams. And so, gate 34, what is it about? So it's an individual gate and also an integration gate. So it's all about empowerment. And especially, it's very empowerment of me. I am powerful. I have the power. And mostly it's going to be used for me, for myself. Okay? And it's very linked to survival. I use my power to survive. It's not about this collective sharing and focus. It goes to this me and my power to make it. And so this is why I picked this, Wolverine here. You just get a sense of maybe what it's like. You have the power. It doesn't mean that you have to be muscular. Power can be expressed in many ways. And you probably know that, let's say you're the boss of a company and you can just stump your employees without repercussions. Well, that's power, for example, All right. So power, selfish power in so many instances. And then you get sexuality. So this is why also I picked Lara Croft there. She's powerful. You can tell she's got guns. I mean, she'll blow your head off if you're in danger. Her, she could. So she's got the power. And then there's this sexuality going on. And Wolverine also has no shirt. So there's this. The 59th gate is all about how we get together to mate, how we get a partner. What is the kind of dance we do in order to become intimate with each other and to become a couple, for example, and to have kids. And so this 59th gate is the gate that will tend to approach the other. It's like, here I am, I am sexual. And so you this is what the life force is going to do. I mean, imagine the difference, right? That's unbelievably different. You get this collective growth and focus, and then now you've got this individual power and this, sexuality going on, And so this is part of the tribal circuit, and the defense circuit, the 59th gate. So it's like the defense of the species, right? Species. That is, we need sexuality in order for our humanity not to die out, because otherwise there are no children, and so then that's the end of it. So it's like the defense of the species. Now something's going on with this 59th gate, and this is why I have this third image there with I forgot her name, Conchita Wurst, and so she won the a singing contest, Eurovision, some years ago. And what's funny is that she was singing this song, I think it was like Rise Like a Phoenix, and we're getting to the sleeping phoenix cycle. And so the 59th gate, which is about sexuality, it's also about our sex, our gender, and our biological sex. And so it's mutating, it's changing. So there's this mutation going on, which means that there's things going on in there that are changing, and we cannot predict them. We don't know what's going to happen to our sexuality. It's under big changes. And so same with the gender. So, for example, then this is what happens. There's going to be people like this that have a different relationship to sexuality than we've ever seen before. And in many cases, it leads to infertility. Because, from what I understand, from what Ra taught, is that this is what's going to happen. Infertility is becoming a thing. People lose their, the sperm count in males is going down dramatically, and it has done that for decades. It's much harder for people to have children now than it used to be. People used to have 10 children in one family, and now it's like, in the West at least, you have 1-2 children, and for many people they can't. They try really hard, and so then there's all these medical interventions and in vitro and all these things that are there to keep the species going. And so this is part of it. This, to me, it's much more raw and animalistic. This combo of gates, right? The 34, I have the power and I'm sexual. That's like not at all, let's understand the world and get together in a collective environment, focus and grow, So, yeah, let's look at the lines then. So we're going from a first line to a sixth line. And so you get the 34th gate, and the sixth line is called common sense. Okay. And basically this line is about learning when enough is enough. And that's really a theme for the sacral, right? If you look at the previous cycle, you get an open sacral. So the life force is not that consistent. There is this emphasis on the 9th gate and the 42. But at the same time, the emphasis is not on the sacral center overall. And what happens with an open sacral in a person is that they don't know when enough is enough. So this can very well lead to people working way too much, okay? Not knowing when to stop. And so this 34, especially the exaltation, will say, oh, whoa. This is too much. I can't do all that I thought I could. And I'm gonna just, take some rest, I can't do it. So, it's this realization of So it's the gate of power, right? But the exaltation is about realizing that you have to do less, because even though you could put the power in and do it, you can't sustain it. It's not sustainable. You can't keep doing that because you're gonna die otherwise. I mean, the 34 is very much about, survival. So this is a very big potential that humanity is gonna start, looking at these things and being like, okay, this is too much. I've been running like a mad person for the past 40 years, and now I'm like, yeah, I can't keep doing that. And that's an example. I mean, children are gonna be like this, like, no, I can't do all that. That's too much. The detriment is about, being very enthusiastic, and so then you keep doing these things, and that exhausts you, basically. But this is this dynamic in the 34th gate. And so the 6th line is all about looking further, looking beyond. And you have this power, okay, but what else, Is it worth just using the power for the sake of it? Is this what it's about? Or is there more to it? Is there something more valuable? Is there a better way to use this power? And, one of the things that you do, maybe, is to not use it for the things that are not going to be sustainable for yourself, and maybe it's less likely, though, for the other people around you and for the planet, But ultimately, I mean, we're all linked together. If the planet is dead, we can't survive either. So, who knows? I mean, common sense is like common sense. It's the 34-6. And then you get to the 59, and it's called the one night stand, okay, in this gate of sexuality. Now, it's not the one night stand necessarily in the way people picture it. That is, you just sleep with one person one night and then that's it. You don't see them ever again. But it can be, okay? The whole thing with this 59-6 is that it's about temporary union. Union that is temporary, okay? So instead of having like a marriage where you vow to be with that person for the rest of your life, this 59.6 is not like that at all. It's like, okay, we're together now, and it will end when it ends, and that's it. So that's a very different kind of way of being, right? And we can see that the marriage and all these contracts, they're going down. I mean, so many people are not getting married. So many marriages end up in divorce, and so we're going closer and closer to this 59.6, and yeah, that's the next cycle. So I have the power, and I can be with you for now until it ends. That's kind of what the sacral energy will be like, okay? So yeah, it's very individual, and then there's this sexuality and tribal thing where you bond with the other, and it's not only sexual, okay? The 59, it's also, there can be friendship, it can be all kinds of things. It can be any union, any bond that you have with someone. But this is basically, this is for now. This is for now. Because it always looks beyond, okay, what else is there? What else? Who else? What else in my life can happen? And so that's kind of it for these two things. And so, also you get a defined sacral, right? So then the sacral becomes such an important theme, right? And so the sacral is this energy to sustain work, right? To sustain life. And so sustaining life is going to be a thing. People are going to be busy sustaining life. And right now they're not. I mean, obviously they are in some sense, but they're going to be much more that and much less, the other things that are in this cycle right now, which are, for example, the solar plexus, right? So, this is more of a global view. But what I wanted to do with this is to look at the gates that point to the sacral. So in this case here, right now, this is before 2027, there's no gates that point to it apart from maybe the G gates, right? And then in the next cycle, you do have one gate that points to it, which is the 53. And so there is probably, there is this hook to the 42, okay? So right now we have the 42, we have the cycles, there is the energy to go through the cycles, and in the future it won't be there, but nonetheless, people who have the 42 will hook up with this 53 that's there in the root. And so it will influence things. You know, the 42 will have a certain place. And so I want to have this view in the next episodes, where we also look at the centers that the gates that point to the centers. So yeah, you know, going through this emotional ego and this open sacral that, even though it's open, it's still busy, focusing on the details while being in these cycles. And now we get to this defined sacral, which is really powerful because this is the gate of power. And so people are going to be very busy surviving and potentially, you know, bonding with other people in new ways, because this 59 is under a very big amount of mutation. And so who knows what kind of bonds and what kinds of intimacy can happen in the future. This is something to see, but it's obvious that it's changing. So that's it. I enjoyed doing this, and see you next time. And if you're interested in a session with me or a Living Your Design course, you can contact me at 9centers@gmail.com. We also have a website, which is the9centers.com, and a Facebook page, so it's facebook.com/the9centers.